This is a Swede Speaks.
So today I'm here with Vincent Baugh, and you have some kind of position in Republicans Abroad Norway. I don't really remember if you were the vice chairman or what you did.
I'm the vice chair.
You're the vice chair.
That's right.
Yeah. And you've been living in Norway for quite some while, I think.
22 years.
Yeah. So what I would like to, explore is, could you, in short, describe the difference between Norwegian and American politics?
Oh, okay. I've been observing or reading about Norwegian politics for a good 15, 18 years. It took me a while to become interested. Some of that might have been due to being able to understand political language and abstract Norwegian or Scandinavian language. When I became competent in language, I started to pick up nuance, as the Norwegians and the Scandinavians like to call it.
Yeah.
And there is just, I'm sorry, it's just an ocean full of difference between the two. There really is. It's mostly, where I'm from, a left-leaning press is something we used to, like I called it, like I told you at our social, that Americans have a built-in bullshit filter.
Yeah.
That Norwegians or Scandinavians do not have.
And that's why Swedes think that Michael Moore is telling the truth.
That's why you think Michael Moore is, I don't know, Moses or something.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. And this is why, why you would think CNN is a credible news source.
Right.
Now, most anybody, whether you're left or right, you watch CNN and you know some of this is just opinion.
Yeah.
But it's dressed up like news.
Right.
Here, news is dressed up like opinion, so that you follow guys because of your personal attachment, not so much what he says, but because of who he is and where he works.
Yeah.
Now, some of that happens in the Beltway. Some of that happens in what Donald Trump calls the swamp, where you follow folks because they have a certain rumor to them. But to be perfectly honest, most Americans don't. I know I don't. I couldn't even tell you. Like, I did a piece for Dagens Næringsliv once.
Right.
And they were saying, well, who do you read? Everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be natural for me to read more than one person. I wouldn't read and call myself a fan of some guy simply because I read him for 15 years. And I certainly wouldn't think that he was telling me the truth all the time.
Right.
A lot of that would have to be that, look, somewhere along the line, this is opinion.
Yeah.
And opinions, opinions are like belly buttons. I use a nice one.
Okay.
Everybody has one, right?
Ah, I see. Yeah.
And there's no requirement that your opinion in a free speech state, there's no requirement that you actually be backed up by facts.
Right.
And as we all know, with the introduction of alternative facts, facts could lead you into the wrong place.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest difference is that we just tend to single source, where Americans tend to outsource. I guess.
Yeah. So could you say a word or two about the Norwegian reaction to President Trump? Maybe especially the reaction from our so-called right-wing parties.
Your so-called right-wing parties.
I'm sorry, that's what I call them.
And that in itself is almost laughable. I mean, because they are so less left than most of them that you kind of get away with the fact that, okay, these guys are, I won't say conservative. I find it hard to say conservative. They are center-right.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave it at that, because most Norwegian parties are not nearly right enough for me.
Exactly.
All right, and not nearly right enough for the Republican Party. But we do like to see sister parties that can be influenced by our way of thinking.
Right.
Right, and that share our values. Like, I'll tell you right now, her Sylvia Listhaug.
Yeah.
Right. Now, for I don't get this, but for the Norwegian audience, she's just way too much. And it's like, you gotta be kidding. That's just funny. That's why my organization, we wrote her a little letter of support after she got hounded out of Stortingen. Right? She seemed to be very appreciative of that, and we were happy to see that. So that so this you would know that okay, it's hard to find a true conservative here without reaching into like Nazism or something silly.
Yeah, some crazy stuff.
Some crazy stuff like that, and that's just too far.
Yeah.
Right? There is a place, and it's probably just south of religionism, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain things that are, we would like to say, universal Republican values.
Right.
And that, you know, Americans mostly have these. Now, we have certain versions of this because there's so many of us, right? There are 350 million Americans, only 5.5 million Norwegians, and what, 20, at the most, 20 million Scandinavians?
Yeah.
So the fact is, yeah, you won't find really deep conservative roots within that. But you will find conservative leanings. And that's what we appreciate.
Yeah.
Right,
so if you would give any kind of advice to Norwegians or Scandinavians who want to understand America, what would that be?
First of all, that would be, it would not to take your, I won't say take your points of view so seriously, but consider the fact that a religious point of view isn't necessarily oppressive. That those conservative, objective views and values they are universal to a certain extent. That's why you see them in particular places where you don't really want them. You see them in Nazism. You understand that the Nazis go too far, fascists go too far. But those universal conservative values that say that certain things in life are worth protecting, those are the ones that we like to see promoted.
And if there's some advice you would have for Americans trying to understand Scandinavia?
Remember, these guys think they live in the perfect society. That's the problem with Scandinavia.
That's a good point.
They think they live in a perfect, and to a certain degree they do, because they've managed to institutionalize thinking of other people, which can't be bad, but as a Catholic, I would tell you, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, there is going overboard when you try to realize your conservative values, and you go too far when you're not really sure of what conservative values are.
Right.
So that's what I would tell most Scandinavians, that try to figure out how do you define, without going into socialism or communism or anything like that, how would you define conservative values? And then take a look at us. But remember, Americans thrive on opposition. We haven't done anything in our history that didn't involve some sort of argument.
Right.
Or if not, just a downright fight. But that's how Americans, that's how we do things. So.
Okay, so before we end this conversation, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, Mr. Trump wasn't our first choice. I'll be the first one to tell you that racism is a personal problem. Don't be confused by that. I could excuse it by saying he's 70-something years old. I can tell you that. But that's not, in and of itself, is not an excuse. Misogyny is something that is endemic to all guys. We just are. We just are misogynists. Racism or exceptionalism or us and themism is something that people are born with. We just simply are. This is how we define who we are sometimes. Yes, anybody can tell you that us and them is just not profitable, it's not healthy, and it's not really smart. But it's something that most people have to work through. And usually this ends up working itself out just by regular life. Just life tells you that not all black people are bad, not all white people are bad, and not everybody that doesn't look like you is out to get you. If we can remember that, then you'll find that you don't really excuse Donald Trump being a lout, a bad guy, a pain. We find him a pain too. But when it comes to shared values, as I've already said, shared values are something we can all look to.
Yeah.
No matter our personality flaws.
Right. Okay, Mr. Baugh, Vincent.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
Well, thank you very much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
And, well, thank you all for watching. And until next time, have a nice day, and God bless.
Trump, 2020.